Hi, and welcome to the Eager Mind podcast. This will be my first podcast for the Eager Mind, and the podcast today is going to talk about a story that I heard when I was a young kid from my dad, and I thought it was really interesting. So I'm going to share that with you for the very first installment of the Eager Mind podcast. When I was a kid, my dad used to tell us about when he was in the Korean War, or in South Korea just after cessation of hostilities. Anybody that knows anything about the Korean conflict is that it never really ended. It was just kind of a truce, if you will, but lots of fighting still happened and even continues to happen along the border with North Korea. So my dad was always interested in being a fighter pilot. And back in the 50s, when you signed up for the Air Force and they told you were going to cadet training, they didn't have to honor that promise. So my father enrolled in 56 and was told he was going to go to cadet school. He signed up, and as soon as they had him signed up, they said they had no more slots for cadets. So he was a machinist before that, and he became a machinist in the Air Force working on aircraft. He was sent to South Korea, to Kimpo Air Base, which is now the international airport in Seoul. And it's very, very close to the DMZ. In fact, my father was told at the base that when jets scrambled, MiG-15s from North Korea, they could be over the base in 90 seconds. So he was stationed there, and it's bitterly cold in Korea, and they would have large water tanks that they used to wash aircraft with, and it would freeze solid. So they would essentially build a jet engine to heat up these water tanks so they could get the water thawed and use it to wash aircraft. So I shot this video that you're about to see on how to build a very simple ramjet out of piping, and I'm sorry, I know the quality's not that great in the video. I had never assumed I would share that with anybody other than myself. It was for me. I shot it a couple of years ago, and it was basically just an interview with my father about that, how they made these jet engines, and they used them essentially as a blowtorch. So again, at the time my father was there, out of Kimpo Air Base, they were flying B-26 Invaders up along the Chinese coast, actually to the southwest of Korea, just listening for communications from the Chinese. Then they had a couple of C-47 Goonie birds that flew along the DMZ, also listening, and then the rest of the C-47s were used for transports. So I hope you like this video. I think it's really interesting and really ingenuitive, so enjoy. You guys used to make a jet engine to heat water tanks out of what?
Tubing.
Okay, so show me what you guys did.
We take maybe a 1-inch diameter piece of tubing.
Like a pipe, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe 1.5 feet long. Then,
That's 2.5 feet.
That's all right.
Okay. Okay.
And then we'd take another tubing, we'd make 2 bills and weld in a bigger piece of
Wait, you do what there?
pipe.
What was that? You take another piece of tubing?
A bigger one.
And what are these out here?
This is the bigger diameter of
Okay.
the tubing right here.
You bell them in. Okay, gotcha.
And then we would cut this and put in here, kind of like that. And then from the upper one, we'd put a pipe plug to put gas in it.
Okay.
And this becomes your fuel tank. And this is all the way around this tube.
Okay, but this tube runs through that
No,
bigger bell.
No, it's just
It ends right there.
This is just opening. It's just an opening. And
Okay, so I don't follow you. Are these two tanks you show there? Those are separated from something?
no, separated from the middle. This is just a piece of tubing, round pipe.
Right, but so that pipe does go all the way through that
No.
larger.
Gets welded on right there, and this is just the opening that's similar in size to this. It does not go any further than right here.
Okay. So this isn't just one big large tank then?
Up here it is, with a hole through the middle.
I guess I'm not understanding that.
Then we take a piece of tubing and weld it in here, and just bring it around, and we flatten the end, and have it just inside the opening.
Okay.
It's just tubing welded in there. So we put gas in here, and then we'd heat this thing up with a welding torch usually.
Just on the outside?
Well, on the inside, outside, it in both places. And then as the gas expands, it starts coming up through this tube.
You got a plug on this here? That's
Yeah.
plugged off? Okay.
Yeah. That's just your filler pipe, and
Okay.
it's plugged off. And that starts forcing fuel.
Because the fuel expands as you heat
Exactly.
it. Okay.
Okay, and so you get this fire going, and just by the nature of the shape of it, it's always going in this direction.
Okay.
Okay, this fire then heats this, and you don't need the welding torch anymore,
Okay.
because it heats this tank, which
Right.
is all around this opening.
And the fire's already there as the fuel
That's
pushes
right.
out.
And this is expanding like a son of a gun in here and getting hard and hard, and then it just blows out the back as a blue flame.
As a blue flame.
Yeah.
And do you have to clamp these down or put some weight on them, or
Yeah.
it'll take off, right?
Yeah, they could.
Okay, so I don't understand this tank though here. How did you get a round open hole with the center? Okay.
Just a piece of round tubing,
Yeah.
and then you make the bell ends on each side here.
Oh, like a cone almost, like a funnel shape
Exactly.
on each end.
Exactly. This only goes to here, and that's a weld
Right.
there. And these are welded in here, so this makes a tank.
Right,
All
but
the
what
way
I'm
around.
saying is let's say you've got a cylinder and you take a funnel, what is this inside wall of that? Or are you connecting the two ends of the funnel to each other?
No, you're correct. There is an inside wall,
But what makes that inside wall?
whatever you wanted to put in there. You could take this pipe, but usually this was heavier pipe,
Okay.
and just thin, about the same wall thickness
Right.
as the bigger tube. This smaller tube's in there.
So this
And
inner-
so, really, the main combustion, because it's blowing here, and the main combustion is going to take place right here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And because this is smaller in diameter than this, it's going that way.
Which is smaller diameter?
This inside tubing is probably a third the diameter. I mean, 2/3 the diameter of this.
Of the
on
bigger one. Okay.
On the ID
Okay.
inside dimension.
Okay.
And you're absolutely right. I had forgotten about making this.
Yeah, because I was like, what's giving you that inside air chamber,
Yeah.
that. So
This, you'll see some fire, but this is where it really expands.
So is it in this tank? Is it coned?
Yeah.
Here and then coned here like that?
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
yeah, it can be straight. if
And
you
so
want.
and then it just burns itself out. Mm-hmm. And so you just point that towards a water tank and voila,
It heats it up. It's just a big blowtorch.
right? And you just tap that. Plug in there
And
and
weld up female fitting
Uh-huh.
on there and just use a pipe plug. And this was like 1/4 inch tubing. and we'd squish the end of it down.
To a flat kind of,
Yeah, yeah.
so it'd spray. Yeah. Ingenious.
And that thing will go like a shot.
How long would it burn for?
Well, that depends on the size of
The fuel tank. And
But
so
we'd use 145 octane aircraft fuel.
Oh, yeah.
Airplane fuel. Boy, that really gets going.
and so how long would one of these? So this is
Well-
probably like a foot long, the tank. So how long would that guy go for?
30 minutes.
Really?
40 minutes maybe.
And your combustion's happening here.
Right there.
Would it make a noise?
Just a roar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not real loud. Yeah.
And it's just sucking air in. It just
As it's blowing hot air out this way, it's sucking cold air in here. And since there's fire in here, it's heating this baby up, and boy, she just gets going.
so when you've got your welding torch on the inside here, why is it not igniting? Why is it not igniting right there at the source?
Because there's no fuels being pushed through that until you get this pretty hot.
So it just when it automatically kicks on, it's going to flame back here, just because there's more air there, or what?
The smallest one we ever made was about 18 inches
Okay,
long. And
the whole thing.
yeah, the whole thing.
Okay.
And it probably had a 3/4 inch to an inch pipe in the back. and
Okay.
Up in the front, maybe 2.5
Okay.
inches, 3 inches, something like that.
And who came up with this idea?
Well, some of the guys over in the POL, we called it. It was a base maintenance group. But
Okay.
anyway, they came up with it.
That's awesome. And what'd you call them?
Well, they're a ramjet,
A ramjet.
but they're not a pulse jet. A pulse jet would have fins up here, something to keep the pressure from any pressure from escaping out this way.
Okay.
This is just basically a ramjet. If this was put on the end of a pole, which we talked about, maybe making 2 of them and lighting them off,
Uh huh.
so that they were spinning,
Uh huh.
and then jamming more air in here,
Uh huh.
they go faster and faster and faster.
Right.
Yeah.
And a pulse jet opens up to allow air in. That's like a V1s had those, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And what does the pulse jet do for you? It regulates the speed?
I guess they don't run away like these would.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting. And
The
so you guys
model-
just kept these around the shop for when
We
you
just
need.
had a couple of them.
Uh huh.
The big one that we used was as long as this table is wide.
Oh wow. Okay. Thanks, Dad.